Hey, good day, fellow deal makers. Welcome to the Deal Scout. On today's show, we're going to talk a little bit about a new technology company that has done some interesting things on raising some capital, and they have some players that have been involved in their raise that you might know. So, with that, Edward, welcome to the show, man.
Hey, thanks, Josh. Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so let's start with this. Tell us a little bit about who you are.
Yeah. So I guess my name is Edward Mbeche. I'm the CEO and founder of Halen Technology, super app with multiple service. Yeah, maybe just short that way, or you
All
want? I
right.
guess. I guess
Super
yes.
cool. All right, so you're building you're CEO founder of a technology company, and you're
Yes.
building a super app.
Yep.
What the heck is a super app?
All right. So a super app is an application that allow people to access multiple services into one app, right? So either even the web application where you have like you have access to multiple services. Like looking at Helen, we have rideshare, we have grocery, we have food, we have retail delivery, and then we have flight booking and vacation rental. So imagine combining like Uber, Lyft, Grubhub, Airbnb into one. So and this super app idea, they are very more popular in the other market than US. And in a way, maybe you can look at it, the mini super app in the US, you can look like flight booking, like kayaking Expedia, where you're able to do flight booking, hotel, and car rental. That's kind of mini super app, but we're just expanding from there.
Okay, super interesting. Um, so let's go before we go forward. Let's go backwards. Kind of give us an idea of like how did you get to this point where you're building a super app? Give us an idea of like how you got here.
Yes. So it's kind of like one of those stories, like I ran into a problem. So we go way back. I used to have a limousine company. I had a limousine company for about 12 years and very successful. It was called DC Private Cars. Running that limousine and Uber and start coming into the DC area where my company was. And when Uber came in, I was one of those people kind of like, oh, I don't think anybody can gonna be able to, to order a car service using an application. That's how kind of old school mentality we were.
Hmm.
So from there, I started kind of losing business slowly. And I was like, oh, this thing is taking off, this Uber thing. And losing some few contracts from that, I decided to sell my company. So I sold the DC private car to someone, got out of it, and it took me about like maybe two and a half, 3 years to decide. Let me create something like Uber, like the ride share, right? So I hired some freelancer to create the same system like Uber, but little knowledge I had with technology, I thought it was one of those you just kind of build like a website, like old school, like a website. You build it, you leave it, people will come, but application are a little bit more different, right? So with that, once the freelancer finished building it, it took about 6 months. It crashed, started having problem, bunch of bugs. From there, I just kind of struggled trying to find the people who build it, um, kind of see if they can fix it. And the guy came to find the guy I was dealing with. He was just a project manager. He struggled also finding those people. He had too much bugs. So from there, um, I decided to find the other developer. Other developer could not fix it. So I just abandoned the whole thing. It was called Global Sedan. Abandoned the whole thing, just a waste of money there. And I was like, oh, I learned from that. I kind of learned a lot of stuff where I was also reaching out to investors, trying to pitch to them about the new rideshare global sedan. And from learning investor, they keep asking questions like, do you have a CTO? Do you have technology background? From those kind of interaction and also this problem with the app, I decided to regroup and start recruiting new team that I want to have a CTO. I want to have all this. From recruiting that, and that time I started also kind of driving for Uber and Lyft, just trying to learn exactly everything is how the system work and everything. And I stumbled in a time where I was having problem making ends meet. Right, I'm working from 7 to 7, like 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., and still not making enough money. And while I start switching back and forth, so I decided to work for Uber and Lyft at the same time, switching back and forth with these two apps, right, and still not making enough money. So I signed up for Grubhub, and so I can have these three apps. Whoever give me a job, so I don't have to just kind of be sitting for 45 minutes, 1 hour waiting for a job. Just trying to stay busy. From there, it's still not. It was not still enough because every time you drive for that long time, you gotta eat, you gotta put gas in your car. So by the end of the day, you're looking at like, whoa, the whole day here, I only made $80, and you're like, wow, this is not, it's not something really you can make a living on this. Um, and also, so I decided to sign up for Uber Eats also, so I can have four different apps, right?
Hmm.
So now, but the problem is like Uber Eats declined me, and that was my question. I'm like, why would you decline me if I already work for Uber? So from there, while I'm also still putting a team together, I got a CTO by that time. So just kind of brainstorming ideas. We're like, hey, maybe we design an app. We still had that name of Global Stamp. Maybe we design an app that will do rideshare and food, right?
Hmm.
And from there, just kind of brainstorming here and there, we end up adding a system architecture. We're asking them, can we be able to do this? And we're like, oh yeah, we can do a system. And we're like, you know what? We can actually add more multiple service here, like a super app. We're like, what is a super app? So from there, we start learning where we find that there are companies like Grab or Didi, like in the Asian market, they are huge, like just doing really good. Although they don't have all the same concept of what we have, the six service where they do like ride share, grocery, food, and then they branch out into financial stuff, like either insurance and stuff like that. So that's when Helen was born.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's interesting, right? So it's like which came first, the business or the team, right? Like, hey, you started building this idea. You found a problem in the marketplace as a worker, independent contractor for these groups, right? Let's see, Uber, Lyft, Grubhub, Uber Eats, and these delivery services. Like you're trying to work, trying to make money. You're jumping from app to app to app. So you saw there was an issue, and you're like, I'll just build it myself.
Exactly.
Started
Exactly.
talking to investors, and they started asking, hey, don't worry about the tech right now. Who's your team?
Yep.
All right. So let's paint this picture. You said you were having trouble, making ends meet. You're working your ass off, many different platforms, bouncing, still not making it fit. You're like, I'm building this myself because there's other people like me who have an issue.
Exactly.
How do you gather a team when you don't have the resources? Because that's a major thing that you've been able to do as a leader is bring people on when there aren't many resources. How'd you do that?
Exactly. Actually, it's fun. It's very it's interesting. Like you get to learn a lot about people. So you're putting a team together with no resources. I'm finding people like, hey, I went through some people, like either people that I know from other friends, introduced me to another friend. In connection from LinkedIn, and like by offering them equity to the company. And we had some few people that they love the idea, they jump in, and then like 2 months later, it's like they lost it. It's like either because they cannot stand that process of building a startup.
Hmm.
It's draining, right? It's like
Yeah.
because you're working, and you're like, hey, some people are like either like, hey, if I'm working on a project like a month or 2 months, boom, it's good. But with a startup, you need people who are dedicated, and people who almost kind of see the vision, and also they enjoy the process of building something that has a potential to be big.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the investors, you're talking to these investors, you're like, hey, I got this idea. I started building it. I sold my company. I've invested everything in this. Like I'm all in.
Yeah.
There's some bugs and such, and they're going, who's your team? So
Mhm.
like, oh shit, back to the drawing board. Let's go accumulate teams.
Yeah.
All right. So in this process, you started, connections, LinkedIn. like, hey, do you want to be a part of this? So the first sale essentially that you had to do was to build the team. You had to cast the vision and sell the team on the idea,
Yes.
right?
Yes. Yeah.
What what questions? So you mentioned that some people they're like, hey, I'm in this exciting, but some people weren't cut out for the startup lifestyle, right? Lots of work, heavy lifting in the beginning for hopes of future rewards, but some people have to eat today.
Yeah.
So that's one hurdle that you experience. How did you deal with that? And then what other things came up with building a team with limited resources?
Yeah. So like when you start uh with building the team, there's some time you're going to work off hours, right? So like most of them, like because in the beginning you're not paying people, right?
Mm-hmm.
So these people have their own jobs. They work other jobs. So when they finish in the evening, is that dedication to be like, hey, I'm finished at 5. And one of the good thing also we got lucky is people, because now a lot of people are working from home, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you have that chance of kind of talking to people back and forth. Even they are working from home, they are full-time job,
Yeah.
but as co-founder, you still communicating on channel like Slack. You're like, hey, can you look at this? I'm like, oh, give me 10 minutes. I'm finishing my work here. I'm on a Zoom with my work, and then I'll look at it. So you have that, but then there's a dedication of like, hey, after I finish my job at 5, I'm gonna eat, get dinner, whatever, but I'm gonna start again, maybe working on Halen around 7 p.m. And then you have like meetings, like maybe on the weekend, like Saturday or Sunday. So that kind of get one of those. It's like you're taking a lot of time also from your family, like especially if you have a family, because now you're working and then you gotta work extra also for Helen for your project that you're working on the side. And that can be a little bit tricky. People will be like, hey, we have a meeting on Saturday, 10 a.m. And people are like, oh, I'm hanging out with my friend. We're meeting for brunch or whatever. So that become tricky also, right?
Yeah.
So you have to get someone who's really dedicated and be like, you know what? I'm really putting my time into this. Instead of them seeing like, hey, yeah, whatever. It's just something to do. Like, so
Yeah. And that's the challenge, right? Is
exactly.
how do you build a team without resources?
Yeah,
Well, you have to show them future resources, right? Or the potential of future resources,
exactly. Yeah.
right? So early on, give us some ideas, some tips what you've learned cuz you said you did it a few times and you're like, "Oh, maybe that wasn't a good fit." And
Yeah.
you guys have learned. What are some things you've learned that you could share with other entrepreneurs?
Okay. So like whenever I guess finding co-founder, there are multiple things. There are co-founders that they want to join the company because they want to see the potential of a payout later stage, right?
Mhm.
Those can be like those are the ones they might not go nowhere as long as they're dedicated. And there are the other co-founder, they come in not necessarily because they care about what could be later or whatever. They just coming in because they're like, hey, I can learn a lot of stuff in the startup. So they might stick there for a few months and be like, you know what, I learned enough and I've been. So like really, it's kind of hard to kind of tell too, because when they come in the beginning, they're like, oh, I love this idea, because they're not disclosing exactly their intention, right?
Mhm.
And the other is they come in like the one they come in, they're like, hey, let's work on this. And then they see how hard it is. And they just up and be like, hey, and then you just start like they start missing meeting, right? Like you say, let's say you have a meeting maybe Wednesday, like a demo of what you guys are working on, right? You say, okay, let's say every Wednesday we're gonna present what we worked on and what we're gonna be working next, right? And then maybe Saturday might be a day, whatever meeting. And these people will be like, will miss Wednesday. They don't send you any message. They don't say, hey, I'm not gonna be able to attend. And then they just go incognito, right? They don't say nothing. And then a week, a week later or two, they're like, oh, I'm sorry, guys. I had some family emergency, so I was busy this. And you're like, literally all it has to do is like it's 1 minute, not even 1 minute, few
Mhm.
seconds. You can just send a text, hey guys, I have a family man. So accountability is very important when you have like if you have a group of startups like where everybody, if you're busy, let your team know, like, hey guys, I'm not gonna be able to make it. It's a quick text. It's a Slack or email, like, hey guys, I'm not gonna be able to make this. That's what really counts. So like to be dependable when you have a team like that.
Yeah. Um, Great feedback, man. Great things that you've learned. One of the other things that that I'd like to ask you about is in a startup, right? Especially when things are unclear. There's a lack of clarity, roles, positions, rewards. We don't know. We're building something that we don't know what this will become,
Yeah.
right? We're we're running into the fog. How do you deal with that when the leader of an organization and leading other people running into the fog? We don't know what it's going to cost. We don't know necessarily the hurdles we're going to face tomorrow. We don't know what the rewards will be. How do you deal with that?
Yes, it's tricky finding like let's say you're putting a team of like maybe 6 people, right?
Yep.
So it's tricky finding all those people to be like, if you hit all of them to be dreamers, oh, you hit the jackpot, right?
Yeah.
Because you think like this here, they are dreamers who are like, man, if this thing we make it work, this thing can have a huge payout. Oh, this is like, yo, this is gonna give me, the ability to be like, hey, this guy is the one who built this company, right?
Hmm.
So it's tricky, and likely I have been able to find about 4 other team members who are dreamers. Like when you talk to them, when I talk to them, I mean, these people are like, I know these guys, they're gonna be with me until the end, right?
Hmm.
So, although before I found these guys, I went through people um, they were not fit for the company, and of course, there's gonna be a lot of learning about each other also. And one thing also that I noticed, because right now we work a lot of our communication is through Zoom, email, and Slack, right?
Hmm.
So we're not physically like sitting next to each other, right? So um, there's that thing also. Is like is something is missing where like, hey, you sitting together, you're talking together face to face. So there's something there that also you need. And I try to I have spent time with like 2 of my co-founders already, like where we face to face hanging that kind of thing, right? So
Yeah.
just kind of cut that tension kind of a little bit. So it's it's finding, I would say it's finding dreamers who can pull this together with you, and they see the huge potential what the company could be.
So before we even get into the investors that you're working with, because it's really big names, people will know these names immediately. I got a few more questions about the stages that you have moved through um, in this space of lack of certainty, right? Lack of clarity, lack of certainty. It's scary, right?
Yep.
What has been going on in your own mind, your own heart, the own mindset challenges that you're facing, right? As you've moved through, I'm going to build this. I've invested all my money into it. Hey, that might not have worked. I'm going back to the game. We're moving through this. Like, what's keeping you going?
Um, I guess I guess um, in a way, let me put it this way. Like right now, if someone, let's say Google, Microsoft, any company, huge company, come to me and say, hey, Ed, we're going to hire you and we're going to give you $1 million a year. Guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to take that million, I'm going to put it back in Halen. Like there's something that makes me think this thing is going to be huge, and the potential that is going to solve. When I started this idea of Helen, I did not even think about the potential, how much money it's going to make. I was thinking about the potential, how much is going to solve for drivers and make them like make a living wage, right? For them to be like, as a driver, I remember when I was driving, like doing this lifting, there was no way I would be able to pay for my kid college, or say like, hey, let me take 1 week off, maybe go on vacation. There was no way, because that money I was making was not enough for me to say once a year I'm gonna be able to take my family on vacation or whatever. It was almost like the money you're just making to just keep looping back, either paying some bill or whatever. So the first concept was to build something that is gonna help people or drivers make a living. And for people, there are a lot of drivers that work full time this rideshare and gig work, right? And some people are like, oh, I just do on my side. Yeah, because maybe they have another job or whatever.
Hmm.
But they're, I would say maybe 70% or maybe more of people really work this as a full-time job. So one thing that keeps me going is it's like I want to solve an issue that can really impact a lot of people and help a lot of people.
Yeah, you want to share. It sounds like you're solving a problem for delivery professionals, people
Yes.
who are in that spot. So other ways that they can make money and other different programs. And you're going to be in your car all day. Maybe you could deliver groceries or food or supplies or whatever, fill in the gap or take people,
Yeah.
right? That's super cool, man. It sounds
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
and
Look.
that's where your babackground is, right? As a limo driver to then
Exactly.
this to then that.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess like I'm coming with that limo driver, limo ownership kind of mentality where I know the like where we want to do almost like it's called like employee centric kind of idea where you make drivers happy so they can translate that happiness to customers, right? When you have a happy driver, definitely they're gonna be happy to offer the service better, right?
Hmm.
And with this also, with the system, it allows people to be like, you know what, I can do this multiple service, but if I feel like today I don't feel like talking to people, I can just do delivery food and groceries, so I don't have to put someone in my car.
Uh-huh.
When you feel like you want to do all, you just turn all of them on and just do everything.
So so this is not only helping them make more money, but some people go, listen, I love dealing with people and I want more people. And then some people might be like, yeah, maybe I want some alone time and I
Yeah.
just want to deliver parts or groceries or whatever the case may be. Huh? I didn't think of it from the driver's perspective of, hey, if I do want to be in my vehicle all day and listen to a cool podcast like this one, maybe that was a little plug for me, by the way. But I could make money and I could do something that fits my personality a
Mhm.
little different. That's interesting. All right, so let's go to, all right, you started build the team to the point where you took on your first investment dollar, an external dollar that said, hey, I believe in what you're doing. Let's do this. What did that look like?
Yes. So the gentleman that it cut as our check, he cut a check for 15,000. From there, he came in and he kind of almost like when you talk to people and you explain to them the vision, and they get it. And once they get it, and they start, they before they even sign the check, anything or contract, they insert themselves into the company where
Mm-hmm.
they start using the word we, right?
Yeah.
So instead of saying you guys gonna do this, he said, we can do this, we can do this, and the first gentleman, his name is Charles. He invested the 15,000, and then he ended up giving also 10,000 to our We Fund campaign. So in total, he invested 25,000. When he came in, at that time, I spoke to a few other investors who, like, when you explain to them, either they are not getting it or they are just there's few part where they're like, oh, you should not do a super app, just pick one service that should be easy, better. And then you say, oh, you should not do the franchise, whatever. But when this gentleman came and Charles, when he starts saying like, yeah, we can do this, we can add this, we can also do this, and that was almost kind of like I don't know how to explain that feeling. You like it's validation, and this person is putting their money where their mouth is, and
Mm-hmm.
that was very very encouraging. And I'm like, whoa, people get it, they understand it, and from that, just kind of pitching to other people there, people that they understand it and everything, but some of them, um, and I'm sure you have dealt with this. Some of them they love the idea, but they're still waiting to see either traction or customer first instead of getting from the ground. Like they're just waiting for something first. It's like I always joke this word is like it's like wildebeest
Mm-hmm.
migration, like where they're waiting for someone first to jump in first, kind of. So that's what we've been dealing with right now. So yeah.
Yeah, that's super cool. All right. So you took on first investment and you're like, it got validated. Someone else believes in it enough to put their money in it. I put all my money in it. Someone else did too. That gave you a breath of fresh air and someone else to say, I believe in this. You have your team that say, I believe in you. You have now an investor. I believe in you. Now, some of the people are going, I'm waiting for you to have a customer to say, I believe in you too. Right?
Yeah.
Where are you guys on the pathway of that? What does that look like?
So likely, because as you know, like I was mentioning, where you have, like I've been trying to build a team, and then the
Mm-hmm.
team jump in for like a month or two, then they disappear because either they whatever reason they might have,
Mm-hmm.
or like some people I have taken out of the team because they did not just fit what we're looking for. Although in their resume it says everything, but when they start working, you're like, no, your resume lied. So uh, right now we are MVP two of four. So we have four milestones. So right now we're at milestone two, finishing up the app and everything. Right now it's downloadable on both Apple Store and Google Play. But it's more of a you would call like almost like a scan. It's clickable. You can click. You can do the login, authentication, and everything. Except you cannot order anything yet. So you can see everything, but you cannot say, "Hey, let me place an order," anything. Yep.
So you guys are close. And you guys took on some investments, and then you guys started a WeFunder
Yes.
raise. All right. So you went private first, and then you went to crowdsourcing. What made that milestone? Why did you guys do that?
Yes. So one of the things that we end up learning as soon as we start fundraising, we start reaching to investor. Even for some weird reason, a lot of the time when you find you pitched angel investor, they did not have a lot of this question like VC, like venture capital, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like right now, we hit a bump where angel investor are acting like VC, right? So where they're like they want to see traction, they want to see customer, they want to, they want to see a product ready and all that stuff. So from there, when we learn that, they're like, oh, okay, because we are in a almost like ideation, right? We are in
Mm-hmm.
ideation, and now we as we're finishing toward to go to the product ready, we find that will be very easy or better for us without a lot of this question for a stage that we are not on. Like where, so we don't have to produce like traction. We don't have to be like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, this is a market, so how many customers we have so much and all that stuff. So we find that, and also it exposes you to a lot of people who just want to, hey, I have $200, I have 100, I just want to do this, just kind of see and support this company. And also with that exposure from these people that end up investing on WeFunder, this can give us a word of mouth once the company launches, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
so they can be also, maybe they can be customer out of that too. So there's customer and also them just sharing like, hey, I invested in this company and they just launched our service. So that kind of give us also that exposure.
Okay, awesome. So since then, and I'm looking at the WeFunder, I pulled up your WeFunder account, and at the time of this recording, you guys have almost raised 100K on this.
Yes.
Awesome job, man. So going from I have an idea to where you are now, super cool. Um, let's talk about some of the people who also believe in this. You've got two decent sized name of groups and people that have said we want to participate.
Yeah. So the 91 that you see on WeFunder, that's on WeFunder. But also we have raised about 70,000 cash. So that's just already in a Halen account.
Cool.
So so if you combine that, that's like what is it, 160, 170, close to that.
Yep.
And yes, we just got also awarded by Google for startup, 100K by Google to use their service, which is great. It serves us a lot of money there. And we just got Soldier Boy and iMemphis manager also invested. So we're kind of trending in the right direction.
All
So
right. So you got Google that says, "Hey, we're gonna give you these 100 grand worth of services,"
yeah.
and then you got Soldier Boy which let's dig into that one. You've got a big name artist who came in, him and his manager said, "Hey, we like this." How in the world did you start up that conversation?
Yeah, so naturally is his manager, not him. Soldier Boy, yeah, he's still in the process trying to go like, so he's kind of almost went by his manager. So um, the reason I was able, I have contacts when I was a
Ah,
owner.
cool.
I deal with a lot of musicians and celebrities. I wish I would have cultivated the relationship a little bit better with like a lot of them. So I was able to text Soldier Boy, his manager, like, hey, I sold my limo company. This is what I'm doing right now. And this is the Helen. I sent him the introduction of what we're building. He was like, oh, this is great. I love this. I love it.
Super cool.
And this guy has been really great. And I was just talking to him also that he started already kind of forwarding to his contacts, right? Like he just spoke to um, what's his name again? Sachs. What's his name? Sachs from the guy who started PayPal. Uh, I can't
The
remember his name.
original PayPal Mafia.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah,
remember
no,
the main guy's name. I have no
I
clue.
know. Yeah. So one of them. So he was doing a party with Soldier Boy. Was booked to do a private party, and Mike is Soldier Boy's manager. He happened to be there at the party, and he was telling the guy like who also actually has invested in a lot of all this big company from all these companies that we are trying to introduce the business from Uber, Twitter, Facebook, and all that. He has been an investor. So he introduced him. He's like, hey, I just invested in this company called Halen, and I would like to talk to you and see if we can um, you can give me some just some ideas, like whatever, how to invest in it and everything. David Sachs,
Okay.
David Oliver Sachs. Yeah, that's PayPal, one of the PayPal
Got it.
mafia.
Because the only one
Yeah,
I knew from that was like Peter,
yeah,
and then the other names I just don't. I have no clue. I didn't remember.
yeah, yeah,
All right.
yeah.
So he had a conversation about this, and where did that go? This is how people invest. They go, oh, you're in this. This is what I'm doing. Oh yeah, I'm in. If you introduce me to your guy, that's through relationships.
Yeah.
So where did that end up?
So literally, he said they met at the private part where I guess David Saxon hired Soldier Boy to come perform. So Mike was able to talk to him. They exchanged number. That's what he said. He exchanged number, told him he invested in Helen, and he want to talk to him about investing and more and about Helen. So that was last Saturday.
Cool.
So this is like what, Tuesday, Wednesday today.
Yeah.
So that means there's a conversation in the air somewhere. So yeah.
Awesome, man. Well, it's super interesting, man. And I love seeing where you've come and the things that you've overcome to get here. Let's do this. As you're going through, what are some of the next things that we can, keep an eye on and cheer you on as you go? What are some of the next milestones you guys are looking to accomplish?
So the next milestone, once I guess we are looking to finish up the app and
Okay.
first like launching our pilot city, which is we're gonna do the Washington D.C. area, and the Washington D.C. area, like 45-mile radius of D.C. That give us access to almost 10 million people, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's what we're trying to launch there, and that will allow us to learn a little bit more about what should be done or what's good, what's bad. And from there, we want to be able to replicate the same what we took from DC to other market and also introduce the franchise model. And the franchise model is going to allow us to embed ourselves into local community through just sponsoring local events or putting local events and stuff like that, just to be there for the community. And also at the $91,000 right now on WeFunder, we are trying to hit to 250. Once we hit the 250, that'll be perfect for us to be able to kind of finish up our app and be able to launch in the market.
Super cool. What's now on the flip side of this? So, I'm taking a look at the business. I'm going, do I get involved? Do I not get involved as an investor? And I go, what's to stop Lyft or Uber Eats or one of these players? What's to stop them from just adding that feature to what they've got going on? How have you guys approached that?
Yeah, they can try it. If it was easy, probably they would have been done already. As you can understand, like when you build a system architecture, which they did, 10, 12 years ago, you're building a system architecture is a foundation for your system, right? So it's like
Mm-hmm.
a foundation for a house. You cannot just say, hey, I'm building a house, a 4-bedroom house, and turn around and be like, you know what, I'm going to put a high rise on top of this foundation. So that means you got to either destroy, abandon the whole 4-bedroom house and start over, or build something on the side and then kind of migrate all the information to the new system. They can, that one too, they can, which also would, I think Uber has started something where they're connecting their service in their app where you click and then it takes you to the other app, whatever. But we believe that with the franchise model, it's gonna be able to make Halen a huge player in this market.
Super cool.
Yeah.
So let's do this. Where could people go if they want to learn more about you and maybe participate in your journey and in your dream?
Yes. The easy way right now, so the company is called Halen Technology, or even if you just Google say Halen Super App, that's Halen Halen, and then just Super App, and or you can go to our website and say gethelen.com, and you should be able to get a lot of information there.
Super cool, man. What questions should I have asked you during this interview about the deal, about what you've learned? What questions should I have asked you, business or personal, that I completely screwed up and did not ask you?
Nah, this has been good. Like next time, I'll just make sure I have enough hair,
Awesome.
so we can be like
Awesome.
twins. They're like,
Hey,
who's
yeah.
Josh? Which one is Josh?
Exactly. We look like twin brothers
I
already.
know,
I can
right?
see it.
Like it's on this side, right?
Yeah, exactly. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Well, Edward, thanks for coming on the show, sharing your journey. Fellow deal makers in the audience, as always, reach out to our guests and say, hey, thanks for being on the show, sharing your journey. If you want to participate, all their contact information will be in the show notes below. You could take a look at what they're doing, or maybe if you have some advice or some connections. This is the goal and the mission purpose of the show is to put deals and deal makers together and to build a cool little network of deal makers. So if that resonates with you, reach out to our guests. And if you want to be a guest on the show, you head over to thedealscout.com, fill out a quick form, maybe get you on the show, talk about your deal. Till then, talk to you all on the next episode. See you guys.